What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Chris Pine film, Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water is the story of two brothers, played by Ben Foster and Chris Pine, whose house is being foreclosed on by a bank, so they decide to go around West Texas and rob banks to make up the money that they need to keep their house. And while they are doing this, Jeff Bridges plays a Texas Ranger who is given the job of trying to hunt them down because they aren't stealing large sums of money to where the FBI is interested. Now, this movie is full of very tense and thriller-like moments because of the bank robberies and the setting in which it takes place, but it almost feels like a relatable story because of why they are doing what they're doing. I'm not going to spoil anything about the movie because that's one thing I actually really liked about this film is throughout this movie, it's written by Taylor Sheridan, who's the same guy that wrote Sicario, which was my favorite movie of last year, is it doesn't spoon feed the audience. It doesn't go in and write down every little bit of exposition that you need to know and have them just straight up tell you. It actually has them talk about it naturally, and then you learn through their dialogue what the story is and how it's progressed and what's gone on in their lives and how they got to where they are. And I really enjoyed that because I feel like so many movies nowadays just tell you exactly what you're supposed to get out of a movie or what you're supposed to know in this situation. Instead, this movie helps you learn it in a much more organic way. This movie also has just amazing performances all around. Ben Foster does a surprisingly good job, and I feel like we don't get to see him on screen that much, and when we do, it's usually in a movie where he has a rather small role, so it was really nice to see him in something that actually gave him a real script to work with, because I think he is talented. Chris Pine is phenomenal in this film, as well as Jeff Bridges. There's a scene with Chris Pine and his son in this movie, and it's scenes like that are what Oscars are made of. I'm not saying he's going to get nominated. I highly doubt he's going to get nominated or anyone from this film. If anything, I think Jeff Bridges would get the nomination because he is also extremely good in this movie. But it's not just the performances, it's also the chemistry that these characters have. Chris Pine and Ben Foster really do feel like brothers throughout this entire film. These are two guys that have lived their lives together and grew up in the same household, and it just felt like such a real story. And to go along with that, Taylor Sheridan's script, I think, is also what helped so much of that because it felt extremely real. Like, one small thing me and my friend noticed after we watched this movie was that throughout the entire film, we never hear the characters call each other by their names. They either use nicknames or they just don't use a name at all. And it's so interesting because it's such a small detail to put into a film, but in a movie that's about people robbing banks, that's a real thing they have to do. They have to train themselves to not use words or recognizable terms or names, especially while you're robbing a bank. So in your everyday life, you have to practice that. And I thought it was really cool that Sheridan decided to actually take that aspect and make it so we never hear these characters say each other's names. The first time we hear it is extremely late in the film, and when we picked up on that, it made the movie feel even more real. This movie's also directed extremely well by David Mackenzie, and the landscapes of West Texas in this film are absolutely gorgeous. The wide shots that he uses, the great environment that he has to work with in this movie just helps make it feel even more real. And I know that I'm saying that a lot, but I cannot stress how real this movie feels. The direction, the acting, everything in this movie makes it seem as if you could watch a documentary about two brothers that actually do what happens in this film. And for that reason, this is one of the best movies, if not the best movie I have seen so far this year. The only complaint I have is very small, and it's just that after we get the opening of the film, there's a little bit of a slow point, but even then, it doesn't really feel slow. It more just feels that we aren't pushing the story forward, we're more just learning about the characters. But then once you get later in the film, it makes sense that that sequence is there because you need that sequence to really build the characters of the film. But to a lot of people, and even to me when it was happening, I did feel like it was slightly slow near the end or beginning of the second act. I'm gonna give Hell or High Water an A. This movie is just flat out great. If you get a chance to see this movie, definitely go watch it. It didn't go a lot of places, which is why I really wanted to see it and do a review for you guys. So I understand that maybe a lot of you won't get to see this movie right away, but later in the year when it comes out, definitely check it out. It has great performances and such a good story. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Hell or High Water, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.